So I want to talk about a couple of things today. I mean, obviously, I think it's it's ganz Deutsch that the theme of De Mexico is automation, right? It's a very German sort of thing. So I'd love for you to talk about how the automation of advertising, buying, and selling lends to the sort of the concentric circle of the workflow and the process of planning and things. Tell me a little bit how the platform helps that.
Yeah, sure. When we explain automation broadly to people, and I think this is especially important understanding video and television too, is we describe it in two pieces. So the first piece is programmatic, which is about impression level decisions at runtime where there's an option to apply data, right? And we can talk about that as well, the proliferation of first-party data and its application. But the second piece is workflow and making a beautiful user experience for buyers and sellers. And we think that's particularly relevant to the orders business. So if you look how our business and I think the industry has evolved broadly over the last 7+ years, we've gone from a kind of initial market entry that was all about auction and unsold and a lot of concerns around commoditized data. And what's developed on top of that in the last 3 years is what we call orders or direct order automation. Really the automation layer around direct buying and selling. And we've seen tremendous innovation there, both for display and mobile and now for video.
So, I mean, so if we look at the programmatic ecosystems, right, what is interesting, I think it's important from a context perspective that display is the most mature. It's the most mature for various reasons, one of which is because there's liquidity and automation actually enhances the value of the inventory, whereas video is sort of, it's an illiquid market, there's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
But in that regard, from a display perspective, given its maturation, what are you seeing as far as the trend of the disintermediation of agencies and trading desks and bringing this in-house by advertisers?
Yeah, so that's a big hot topic right now, and I think it just speaks to the overall maturation of our business and increasing understanding of automation and programmatic at the endpoints, okay? At the endpoint of buyer and seller. So if we were having this conversation maybe only 2 years ago, a lot of what we would be talking about is the technology, the geek work in the middle. And I think if you're making bets around automation or programmatic today, whether it's in video or television or another area, what you need to look at is the organizational structure of the media owner and the organizational structure of the ad holding company and understand how both of those entities are re-architecting to come together around automation.
So Jay, can you just dive a little bit deeper into sort of the business models of like the holding company relationships that are taking us, to trading desk, et cetera, in-house and kind of repurpose it or repackaging it for their clients?
Yeah, sure. So there's been, I think really automation was germinated inside the holding company entity in the trading desk. And if you go back to early days, they were the only folks in the room that knew anything about automation. But what they knew initially and what the ad holding company executives eventually figured out over the last couple of years is automation can also be a very profitable enterprise versus some of the core planning and buying businesses that have been under severe margin compression on the agency side.
And that's the FTE business model.
That's the FTE, that's a percent of spend model. And so a lot of the game, and this certainly plays out around video and is probably largely yet to play out around TV, is how do you take automation and place it earlier and earlier in the process, in the strategy process, in the planning process. And you see very, very different approaches to this among the different holding companies, among an IPG versus a WPP versus a Publicis versus an Omnicom.
Got it. So just I want to end with one question, Jay, and that's really that those business models, given that we are here in Germany and we're in Europe, and Europe is not a country, tell me just if you can quickly go through the comparing and contrasting on how it's different in Europe and maybe what might be unique about this market, for example.
Yeah, okay. I think especially if you're looking around in trying to read the tea leaves on video or TV, where we have supply constraint and it operates differently than a display market or a mobile market, you need to look at where the direct order business is across different global or European markets. So you have extremely progressive markets like the Netherlands, like France, like the UK. And then you have some laggards across Europe, like the German market, where you have the tradition of the sales house. And so much more cautious. The Spanish market, much more cautious. And then you have relatively new entrants like the Italian market that has picked up steam in kind of the more recent past.